Hey, good afternoon. I'm joined today by Chief Fowler from Methodist Health System Police. Today, I'm here to brief you on the investigation into the double homicide and officer-involved shooting that happened on October 22nd at Methodist Dallas Medical Center. We are joined today by Methodist Dallas Medical Center leadership, along with Methodist Health System Police Chief Glenn Fowler. On Saturday, the Methodist Health System Police Department requested the Dallas Police Department's assistance with their homicide investigation. As of this afternoon, Methodist Dallas has asked us to take over the homicide investigation in addition to the officer-involved shooting investigation. I'll be briefing you on the facts as we know them on both investigations. They may change and often do as we go through these incidents. Our preliminary investigation determined on October 22nd at approximately 10:21 a.m., 30-year-old Nestor Hernandez arrived at Methodist Dallas Medical Center to see a patient in labor and delivery. During that visit, the suspect pulled a handgun from his pants and hit the patient in the head multiple times. After the assault, a hospital employee, 45-year-old Jacqueline Pakua, came into the room to provide routine services to the patient. As Pakua was attending to the patient, the suspect stood up, moved to the employee, and shot her once. Methodist Medical System Sergeant Robert Rangel was just a few doors down investigating a stolen property call when he and hospital staff heard what appeared to be a gunshot in the nearby room. Another hospital employee, Katie Flowers, 63, heard the shot fired, looked into the room, and the suspect fired again from the doorway, striking Flowers in the hallway. Sergeant Rangel witnessed the second employee being shot and took cover and called for help on his radio. The investigation shows Hernandez reportedly reloaded his weapon and started to leave the room, still armed with his gun. Sergeant Rangel fired one shot from his department-issued weapon and hit the suspect in the leg. Hernandez went back into the room after being shot, and after a standoff with police, he was taken into custody. Tragically, both hospital employees died from their injuries. There were Dallas police officers at the hospital who helped with taking the suspect into custody. The patient assaulted by Hernandez prior to the shooting was treated for their injuries. The newborn child in the room at the time, there was a newborn child in the room at the time, but was not injured. Hernandez was treated at Methodist Hospital and later moved to another hospital for further treatment. He has been charged with capital murder. Both the officer-involved shooting and homicide investigations are ongoing. The focus here today, of course, should be on the lives lost. On Saturday, we lost two healthcare workers who were going about their day caring for others. But as I stated publicly before, and I know you're going to ask it, in my opinion, this is a failure of our criminal justice system. A violent individual such as this should not have been on ankle monitor and should have remained in custody. Hernandez has a criminal history included aggravated assault of a public servant, burglary of habitation, and aggravated robbery. He was sentenced to 8 years for aggravated robbery, serving 6 years before he was released on parole in October of 2021. In March of 22, he was arrested for parole violation. Then in April, released to his parole officer. In June, he was arrested by Carrollton police for parole violation. He was then held in county jail and then given to the custody of TDCJ and released in September 22 with an ankle monitor. He was wearing an ankle monitor at the time of the incident. Our thoughts are with the family and friends of the hospital employees who lost their lives and the Methodist Dallas Medical Center staff who also lost members of their family. I would like to take a moment to discuss the actions of Sergeant Rangel on Saturday. There is no doubt that his actions that day saved lives. By stopping the suspect from leaving the room, there was no further loss of life. Sergeant Rangel remained engaged, created a rapport with the suspect, constantly communicating with the suspect and the patient inside the room throughout the barricade situation. Ultimately, the suspect did surrender and was taken into custody by law enforcement. While we continue to investigate this shooting, I want to commend Sergeant Rangel for protecting staff, patients, and newborns who remained on that floor that day. And with that, Chief Fowler would like to say a few words.
Chief, thank you. I'd like to say on behalf of the Methodist Health System, the Methodist Health Police Department, the men and women of our organization, our police department, the many healthcare workers that we represent, we're very thankful for the outpouring of support that we have received from the community, from other healthcare organizations across the nation. Employee violence against healthcare workers is on the rise, and it is something that is a great concern across our nation. I want to say that on behalf of our organization, we are extremely thankful for the courage, the poise, the professionalism shown by Sergeant Rangel as he addressed this critical incident, being able to pass information to our dispatch center, to responding officers, to communicate and attempt to negotiate with the suspect during very trying times. I want to say especially thank you to other law enforcement agencies who dropped what they were doing and responded to assist us during our time of need, and especially to the Dallas Police Department, who's bringing their resources to bear to assist us during this difficult time and complex investigation that will follow. Again, thank you to the community. Thank you to the other healthcare organizations that do the same thing that we do, just on different sides of the street, and help us out by offering their support to us. We're extremely thankful and very appreciative.
Before we open up to questions, I know since the coordination of the investigation, now that we officially are leading the investigation, please expect this as if this would have happened in our jurisdiction with regards to the information sharing, but give us some time to catch up on some of the things that you would normally see had this been in our jurisdiction.
Chief, just for clarity on this, I want to get an understanding. You're saying under the criminal justice system right now, that man shouldn't be on parole, he shouldn't have a monitor, or he shouldn't go to a hospital. You understand what your concern is about not only this incident, but there are thousands of people in this region just like him.
Well, an individual such as this, with his violent past, violent criminal history, here's the thing. I guess I'm at a pause when we think that putting an ankle monitor on a violent criminal is some form of accountability, because ankle monitors on violent criminals are useless. And so that's what my biggest concern is. Yes, everyone gets the opportunity for parole. There's no question about it. But if you believe that a violent criminal should have an ankle monitor, then that violent criminal probably should still be in custody.
Chief, the parole board has said that he had permission to be at the hospital. This might be more for the Methodist police chief. Was the hospital informed that this violent felon was going to be there? Did they tell you, or he just showed up? And secondly, what extra measures are you taking to protect the public from this happening?
The police department had no forewarning that this person was being monitored by ankle monitor. Anything about his criminal history. That's not something that we normally inquire about for a parent in our NICU or mother-baby units. It's not something that normally comes to mind. This is a extremely horrific, out-of-the-norm situation. And I wish that we would have known, but that is not some information that was provided to us beforehand.
But Chief, while you were up there, what's the
Are you
did you
changing
say
your
her name was Caitlin Flowers? What were their positions? Were they both nurses, techs? What were they?
We're going to get into that here with a little bit more information when we release it through Dallas. But it is important to remember that the organization itself is doing everything we can to analyze the situation, to analyze safety for our employees. That's going to take things that are happening today that we can do to make things better, things that we can do in the future. We don't necessarily say that we have all the answers to prevent evil when it's going to occur, but we're going to do our very best to protect our own fellow employees, the patients who are most important to us, and certainly to our staff, who we feel that we have a certain solemn responsibility to take care of. What all those measures are going to entail. I don't have all the answers to tell you that today because we're going to study this in depth. We are trying to take measures immediately to address other security issues that we feel that might help the situation. But some of those concerns that as far as what types of steps we're going to take, we're certainly not going to be able to release all that information because of keeping those things private for the security of our organization.
Well, were they nurses? Were they techs? What were they? Their positions in the hospital?
One was a case manager, caseworker, and one was a nurse.
I think, Chief, we're asking for a point of clarification. I believe the statement emailed out from the hospital Sunday identified one as Jennifer Flowers, and I think perhaps you gave a different name today. That's what we're looking for clarification.
I'll get with you and we'll get the exact information and spelling on the names for you.
Chief, but before y'all make a long-term decision about any potential changes, in the short term, like right now, today, are y'all making changes to security in who comes in and knowing if somebody's coming in who's out on parole? Any at all changes that you can talk about, Chief?
There are some things that the employees and patients and visitors would normally not see, which would be a drastically enhanced police and security presence, uniform presence on some of our units, especially our mother-baby units, our emergency rooms and other front-facing areas of the hospital. As far as the additional measures, as far as how we're going to screen people that come in and out of the hospital, those decisions have not been made yet at this point.
The affidavit talks about the mom was beaten before the first person was shot. Did that noise or commotion contribute to Ms. Kukua coming in to check on the mom?
We're unaware of that was the reason that she went in there.
What set him off?
You know what? Right now, there's questions that we're still trying to answer with regards to that. He was acting very strange throughout the period of time there. He was wondering who else had been in the room, things of that nature. Again, honestly, we don't know what set off. We know that it was just a situation that unknown exactly what set him off, what caused him to do that.
Was it protocol missed that the TDCJ should have notified the hospital or Dallas PD if they knew that specifically he was going to the hospital for this specific event? Should someone have been notified?
Well, we're going to work on all that as we go through it, Dave, because what I will say to this isn't about being on parole. What this is about is a violent criminal that was on ankle monitor and us thinking that in some way, shape, or form, that's a level of accountability, because it is not. But if an individual needed permission to go someplace, then you would think that the place that they were going to would have some communication. But those are things that we'll work through very early in the investigation. Obviously, if you need to ask permission to go someplace, anyway, but we'll get through that.
Chief, he was a convicted felon. He had like at least 4 felonies starting when he was a juvie. But the last time that he went through the court system, they waived the enhancements. He should have been under state law with the 3 strikes you're out. He should have been in prison at least 25 years or more. How frustrating is that you arrest people, habitual criminals, that then turn around and get these light sentences and then turn around and get released? Frustrating probably is an understatement, because the dynamic is this: is not only does it make our jobs harder and my men and women's jobs harder as they go out and risk their lives for our community, but our community suffers, because our community, we have a great rapport with our community as we get information from our community on individuals that commit violent crime. And for our community to see those individuals that they sometimes risk their lives to give us information on, to see those individuals back in their neighborhoods days or weeks after, erodes public confidence in the entire system. So it's frustrating. It is almost like we're swimming upstream as these men and women and our community together. This is not just me, Eddie Garcia, being loud about accountability. I hear this from my neighborhoods every time I'm out there. And so it's incredibly frustrating, but as I've said many times, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and if we have to be the only part of the criminal justice system that doesn't let our community down, that's exactly what the Dallas Police Department is going to be.